The Darkstar Cup has completed, and despite the predictions of many, the meta was a lot more open, with quite a few niche lines shining given the right spots. My name is Boris, and today I'll be jumping in game with Broseph from Game 3 of the final lobby of the EU side of the Darkstar Cup. Now, this is going to be a little bit more traditional game, but it was teased to me through a full board pivot. As well as, for me, I believe that TFT is more about the journey, how you get to your board, what decisions lead you to get to it, and how you manage to navigate these intense and crucial rounds in order to secure your placements, as simply tying together a strong board that on paper might seem the best one is not always going to net you the win. Our gods for the game are going to be Thresh and Soraka, and here we are coming up on our augment, so let's evaluate our spot. We managed to find that Aurora as well as a Jinx, and we have this Briar on the bench, and we saw the pings coming in already as a potential anima player. Therefore, in the interest of most, we want to outsack Broseph, as at the moment you cannot see here, but he is at 12 points, meaning if he gets the first, he's going to be in check for the following game, and getting in check in 4 games, you're going to be one of the few players contesting that win. And I believe at this situation he would be the only one. For ourselves, we do not have the strongest of the board since we prioritized to holding on to these. Something like the Zoe 2 pair that we saw in the shop here could have been definitely a strong potential out for ourselves, but we do not exactly have the slams. Our strongest slam would be the Spirit Visage. So let's go into our augment selection. Offered Build a Bud, as is going to be a prismatic start, so quite a lot of tempo could be coming in. Build a Bud is something you can take if you want to be pushing that tempo or establish yourself a clear direction. We do not have anything to pair together with this Build a Bud, and we do not have offensive slams. If we get one, we would have to go with a Hodge, which is fine, but not the strongest one. Same goes for bot cost. This is even worse if we are unable to fully streak on from it. Prismatic Ticket. We've seen a little bit more 3-cost play, but it's mostly coming from the tempo side. For example, the MF comp has seen both variations, both the reroll around the bastions as well as tempo into bruisers to level 8, some success. But I would only justify this into something like the Lulu reroll myself. Subscription service, some augment that we would be picking if we wanted to establish a clear direction, but we do a scout around here. Let's see if there's anyone contesting potential one of these 4-cost lines. This is most likely lead you into a quirky Riven kind of line with best use there. Otherwise, E is something you may consider. We were defaulting Prismatic Ticket as a general econ option for the potential to maybe reroll, and still scouting around seeing the options. Here there's Exalted Adventure, those are always interesting games to note, but I believe the trade tree here could help us. We could just be holding on to these emblems, not utilizing them. And if we find an Adam emblem, we even have an option of toggling the Adam for ourselves by simply holding off to the emblem and solding and fielding the unit. Heart of Swarm is something we just cannot take as the augment is underpowered. Have not seen anyone win out with this Apex Primordian yet. Guy just got nerfed too much, I believe, whenever he was reintroduced. And we get a Voyager, Darkstar, and Bastion emblem. Those are absolutely insane for playing into any form of the Darkstar line. We would have to see which combo direction would establish for us. The most default one would be playing right into that ASOL line if we were able to find the rods. For example, we have already a single glove and a belt which to complete the Striker's Flail for ourselves, and then if we find a Jeweled Gauntlet and more rods for this ASOL, it could be definitely quite strong. Otherwise, we could be playing also in some form of Xayah variation, which is going to be a little less. Xayah sees more success on her own, and is coming into the last day, I believe, was the highest top 4 level 8 line you could default into. Otherwise, just going for any form of vertical, playing around some form of a 5-cost is also going to be quite strong. The ASOL variant truly needs quite a lot of rods for the ASOL to see a lot of success. But for now, we are simply going to be lost streaking. It's nice that the Soraka is one of the gods. If we see that 12 HP is pretty much an insta-click for ourselves. And there is a player who is fully open, so we are fine to be holding on to this Lissandra. Do not have to sell it yet. And you see there's also an anima player there. So this is going to be a little bit of a standoff between ourselves and some positioning mind games. We are locking our shop, I believe, for this Alawi, as it can string together a quite prominent mid-game board for ourselves in case we are forced to cash out. We instantly go with Thresh here. Let's just see the reasoning. Yeah, so the Soraka's Embrace is not that strong. Earlier in the game, definitely can be worth as well as a tempo possibility onto this 2-4. However, later in the game, some weak unit might die, and then this effective HP value is not going to be utilized as well. Therefore, Thresh simply gives us a gold, and at this spot, since we have taken an item augment, which is the emblems, at the earlier stage. We're definitely wanting to find any form of a gold influx we can get. So let's see what are we getting for ourselves. See that there's another player without anima even, still lost streaking around there, and we get a Fizz with the glove, which was our penguin selection, and we get a golden remover. Yeah, we got a golden remover, so that's actually quite strong for ourselves to simply be able to slam our items without that much worry and improve the whole carriers a little bit later on once we are going to be making this pivot, as well as with this anima cash. If we get it, can be some items. Another neat tech that I've seen players play around anima is by repeatedly cashing out the 100 cash outs for the anima. If they identify that they are not going to be able to go for this 400 or 500 cash out, since especially this is prominent in the Chinese region, where they believe that simply having these weaker anima items as items for your units is going to make a more stable stage for board, and in terms of a gold value you're not losing that much, as well as if your streak gets snapped you are not in a complete shambles yourself. Now we are holding out also for a possibility to maybe be playing into something else. I would doubt. Now, okay, we sold this Urgot. We are stringing together here this Alawi, fielding a board just simply is going to be able to kill the board units for ourselves. Most likely going to give up on the Urgot from there on out. And we find a spatula from the gold orb. Now, and since we have these anvils, we could probably muster another Darkstar emblem or a Voyager emblem, I believe, would be a little bit stronger. We'll have to see. But now we have to return to this sack position, going in here where we want to be cornering our melee carry, trapping them in, as well as we could have possibility for opening up, but the other way by positioning a unit here, their trap. However, we saw that the players are not going to be playing absolute weakest of the board, so we are simply going to field something in hope that we can kill a single unit. Unfortunately, unable to do so. And now I would be leaning towards an econ augment. We have some form of a... We have the items in okay situation. Emblems can be treated / combat as items, and if you're going to want to invest into the spatula, we definitely want to have another component to go with it. New recruit is something that can open up the possibility for Darkstar to even cap higher. Generally the comp lacks a little bit in the frontline department. You can utilize this either for even more burst damage, which is the comp is designed for, or something to hold down your frontline and be a little bit more flexible with that, especially with this Bastion emblem. Lucky gloves would be something for a tempo that reduces your overall cap. Despite the fact that we have 2 gloves already, that could lean us into it if we wanted to really stabilize our board, and it's the item augment that I would be probably leaning towards the most here, as luxury subscription could be treated as gold, and perhaps if we find some 5 costs that we could be playing around, this is an interesting choice to be made for sure. And we see invested though, could be leaning into this econ. We are going to be sacking anyhow, and then just simply have the most amount of gold. Sword overfill, good for your Corky Ravens, your Zayas, your Jins also, since you have the so many swords. But playing around Jin for this spot is going to be quite tough, as Kaisa got nerfed with the previous coming into this patch. She's not going to be as stable, and we'll be gambling fully for this Jin to come online. I believe we're leaning with yes, with this invested, as we want some gold, and we're probably going to be sending it on the 3/7/4/1. With invested, we probably have to be sending it on 4/1 as we want to farm extra rerolls. So that's going to be a very hard turn for us to pull off, and our HP count is already down at 58 since we have had to go through this full sacking right here. But if there are any players that are going to be able to pull it off, they are going to be these ones. He opts to reforge the Bastion emblem instead, perhaps fishing for a Brawler emblem. Vanguard emblem could also see some potential opening up these anvils, and he also wanted to have a pan. So let's see what is his decision. Perhaps fishing for a Voyager emblem. We have a lot of Reforgers, so we're completely fine to be going through these emblems, but we have to have a clear direction in our mind coming from this spot, as we want to make sure that we do not have to perform any unnecessary actions going into our roll down. Going to settle for the Vanguard emblem now provides a little bit of durability for our Ilawi here, but we're still unable to really kill any units. Now we are closing in on this 400 cash out right now, but we are definitely going to be close to a single life coming into this, and unless we are planning to somehow flex around Fiora, it's going to be quite tough. Blessing of Size does not play into this burst matchup. Thresh has a potential to give us even more gold. We definitely need enough gold to be able to hit, and Blessing of Size works on your Giga tanks, but if you're planning around to play around the Tomcash that we have in the planner, we are not going to want that much HP on it. The only other justification would be that we currently only have a single frontline item, but now we have the even more chains. So this is going to be quite neat to be slotting in the Bramble Vest, I would assume. Able to level to 7 here from the extra gold we've gotten for ourselves. Most likely going to be... Well, we have a lot of forgers, so we could be perhaps fishing, but the meta is, and the lobby seems to be leaning partially into AD direction, so going to be going with that. Also opted to make the Striker's Flare for the Jeweled Gauntlet most likely, and here comes our 400 cash out. We do not have the lives enough really to be going for the 500 from this spot, I would believe. And we get a 3-star Jinx with a Bella Bunny crossbows. Now this is a cash out that does not fit our emblems, but I've seen a little success. Title, for example, in his final lobby had a game where he managed to win out from this cash out, going for a Diana and an Aurora 3 as a tag along this anima reroll, exactly with this setup. But since we have emblems and we have clearly other direction we're going to be playing into. Managed to win a fight here with this Jinx tree very barely, which is a key to preserving our life total. Well, this is probably the best outcome we could have asked. Going in at least comfortable 2 lives into the next stage is a huge value for ourselves. But I would still believe that we are not going to be slacking again. Now we are going to utilize our reforgers that we have to fish for a stronger anima item. What are we? Ice Blast Armor is a good frontline item, but we have our 3 frontline units. So here comes our roll down. I would actually simply slow it down here, as this is the round that coming out of PV you have less time. So we have to be clear with our order of prio. We should have our items sorted as much as we can. And you're only allowed to full sell your board in situations like this where you have a lot of gold and you have a clear direction into where you're going to be going with it. We have that, otherwise you want to be holding on to potential units that could be fielding in. But the order of prio is sell units, level, roll, then start sorting, first prio field the units, and then sort out their positioning. Remember, you can field them with the hotkey as well, especially if you've full sold. And then simply slam your items at the very end once you find that you have a stable enough of a board. So going in here, we're going to be leveling, find level first, then full sell our board. Roll, we find an Aurelian, find a Karma pair already coming in, and the Tom Kenshin. We have the new news, which definitely assume we would have wanted to have that Vanguard emblem. Holding on to extra news, we're not going to do that in this kind of crucial spots, especially with the anvils on our bench. The bench slots are of high value. You can see that the rolling speed is quite good, as we have it here even on 1-time speed, but I believe this is a little slower actually showing than the full 1-time speed. Managed to execute a clear roll down and hit quite early on. Going to be stopping here. Do not find that Jeweled Gauntlet, but hopefully this Aurelian 2 is going to be sufficient for us to be stable enough. Now we still have quite a lot of actions to perform, but with since we undercut the lobby with the round before, we have bought ourselves this time that we can utilize now. We reforge back into a spatula, and we have Earth's grab bag offered for us, which could become a technician's crown for this spot. And we're definitely looking for items, right? We have found an upgraded frontliner, we have found an upgraded backliner, we have still quite a lot of gold, and have preserved, and we want to be preserving enough to make to level 9. And probably could fish for another Darkstar emblem here, since we do not have... Oh, we have not fielded a Kaisa yet, and this Technician's Crown could offer us to do that right away with a 6 Darkstar, but he does not believe it. He believes that new recruit is simply going to be a little bit more value. Perhaps evaluating that this extra team slot here is going to be worthwhile, and he believes that he has enough items. I'm a little worried about this here, since this is extra 8 gold, and I believe our gold situation is quite fine. Giving the 3 components here, we could have a duo carry lined up for ourselves potentially, or sort out a little better ASOL items. But perhaps he has something in mind with this spatula that he wants to do otherwise. Perhaps that opens up a higher cap. Cannot take Retribution, cannot take Command Score. Simply the new recruit has to be our play. And we are able to immediately field the Kaisa then, and we are fishing here for the Rogue Emblem. The Rogue Emblem is simply going to give us a little bit of extra stats. Find a Jeweled Gauntlet now finally, so we're able to sort our ASOL right away. keeping the Darkstar spat on him instead of going for, well, if we had something like a death cap we could consider it, but otherwise this simply stat stick here is going to be quite worthwhile, especially since we're able to make him super massive. It's going to provide, in combination I believe the damage is quite similar, but simply having the extra slot here is going to be worthwhile, and we're able to perhaps even mech it. But now we find that Jhin. Now that's going to allow us to drop one of the weaker Darkstar units, and we reforge another emblem. This is sometimes you get quite dizzy with these extra emblems. Roll once, find Karma too, which is quite neat, as Karma generally in these AP lines can be quite contested in certain lobbies, but we queue into here a Exalted Adventure, Gnar 3, Jax 3. Now that's an actual line that can be considered, but has hit a Corki too, so they're able to roll over to us since they have cashed out and managed to hit their own item spike. And we are dropping down on this territory where we can take a good loss since the base damage is 8, but otherwise we are pretty much on a single life. Again, going to align ourselves with the Thresh, as the Soraka offerings are simply quite bad. As a boon from this kind of spot, it wouldn't be too bad, but it's fine. And it seems that someone got a golden egg from their call to chaos, so that's at least hopefully a free win for ourselves. Find a bard. So opted to aggressively level here to A9. Since we had still a lot of gold ref remaining from our roll down, able to find a Bard pair already and the Jhin pair in our shop, as well as upgrade our other units. And now going up against the Call to Chaos of Konda for the Golden Egg. Very unlucky for them playing for this fast 9. That's definitely not the outcome they were looking for. Probably were hoping for some form of items or raw gold to fully stabilize their board. And we are able to slot in this Rast here, which given the extra team slots we have, it's actually quite strong. So maybe this was what he had in his mind as a possibility here, that hey, we have all these emblems, they're going to be sorting ourselves as an items, and I can simply provide my units with even more armor and MR from this Rast, as well as a little bit of attack speed obviously, and obviously the black holes are going to be benefiting from it as well. And now we are on our win-out path, but we have to be wary, as coming into stage 5 we definitely are on a true 1 life, and we see that there are some players on high HP who might be sacking for these fast 9 boards. We do not have a lot of gold, but here we are completely fine, as we see a spark immediately and we can complete a Spear of Shojin. So that's going to sort our utility, exactly what we were looking for from ourselves right on the first roll, and complete a 3-item Karma. Going to be main tanking the Tahm Kench here, as he's simply a more durable tank due to Nunu paying the tax of being a CC tank. And now we just want to ensure that this Nunu has some form of a line onto their backlines, as well as not getting sniped from ourselves, from them. Now we have the Thresh boon that gave us immediately double components, I believe. That was the Thresh boon. Or we had the Ace. Oh, we had the Aesol quest, I believe, to roll 15 times as well. So that immediately gave us an item. Completed the Rage Blade, since that was just whatever the components offered for us is going to be sufficient. Onto this Jhin for now, as his emblem holding. Then later on we can perhaps consider moving something like the Voyager emblem around and putting a Giant Slayer on him. When we upgrade him, getting a little bit more extra gold from the Thresh now itself. And find that Jhin too. So going to be giving up onto this Bard. And have to see how we manage to position around it. Again, manage to get the Tahm Kench by trying to juke the other player away that we are swapping. And have the Bramble West in front. Now it does get to our backline, but thankfully we had this Rast to completely stop them. Even though he was only at 1 star, was enough time for our Aesol to burst down their front line and retarget. And now we have this Aesol scaling coming, this Thresh scaling coming in, allowing us to further cap our board. Any form of HP and attack speed rolls that we get drastically increase the power of our board, as well as double dipping from the HP, right? The HP rolls double dip onto the black holes, providing even them more HP. Again, nice positioning for just to get the Tahm Kench in front of this Yi player, and we're able to pick up a free win. Now we just have to be wary of any other fast 9 players in the lobby. And we have the completed item anvil coming in, as well as another component farm for ourselves that sorts out this last whisper, which is absolutely amazing as well. Able to slot in that red buff. Yeah, on the Karma I believe it's a little bit better in the sense that She's going to still be a good player, but we sort out our items here on the Jhin, having that last whisper. Both of them are amazing at applying, but obviously the AD onto the Jhin is going to be more worthwhile. Into this Diana MF reroll from Setsuko with device spending and trifecta. Already also a very strong setup from him, but still we have quite a lot of cap, and now we find this Bard too, and we're going to be transitioning onto the Bard. Bard being considered one of the strongest of the Darkstar emblem holders, and simply going to offer a higher cap than this ASOL. A lot of players have noted that even though the early dominance of the ASOL was quite prominent, Bard, especially once you have a 2 conduit, he does not need the mana item. He's simply able to rip and provide a lot of damage for you. The issue is obviously sometimes getting to him, especially with other Fast 9 AP players in the lobby. But it seems that the other players playing for the Fast 9 have not fully managed to reach their cap. We are getting more and more items completed from this, to the Thresh, which is absolutely amazing. If we now complete just another, perhaps ideally a mana item for this Nunu, will be amazing. We also get, given the dragon for ourselves, we're able to get rid of this mech. Now we have enough Voyager through the symbol of the 2 Voyager is just fine enough to provide the shield, and he values the presence of the dragon as another tank and the hybrid damage dealer stronger than simply having this mech before we're going to be pushing the levels to field it. And now the Bard is on a show going up against this Gnar reroll board. They simply do not have enough damage to get through all the frontline. All the Thresh rolls we've gotten have provided us with so much damage in form of items as well as any form of an HP roll. And they roll another 6 for another component. This guy is absolutely high rolling. If he was playing a dice game, he would be winning by now for sure. Still interesting to see how he's positioning in a way here. You can see one tip is that not having the black holes on the corners, so that they are definitely gaining a value, and he's also moving his weaker tanks at the back now. Obviously this Rast here is alright. I do not have exact decision for it, but still having these other tanks into the back line, so that to prevent any form of wraps, for example, from the side, as well as them definitely gaining some form of a value. Stalling in this way, it's quite interesting to see how like, I do not get the full idea, but I would assume that it is so that he ensures that his strongest tanks draw the most amount of aggro, and maybe he's able to manipulate the Nunu ult in some way as well, as so that its front line is not fully lined up in one single line here from these sides, maybe, as well as then be able to target the back lines a little bit nicer that way. Interesting to see, but now we are against Setsuko in this 1v1 remaining here, and still a very interesting game also played from the Setsuko's part with this Vice spending 3-cost reroll. Now do not get the Nunu here, but we do get the Tomkench right in front of him. That should be enough for us to slow him down and this Bard to start cleaning the board up fully. The Jhin comes in as well with his second cast, able to clear everything up except this Diana who resets and is able to clean up. And we're able to clean up. High risk game played by Broseph, but retained his calm, executed his roll down. Now, some of the hits came early, but he recognized he does not need to dig too much deeper here. The crucial win came onto the last round of stage 3, where we're able to secure ourselves a couple of lives, which allowed us then to be going for this little bit of a risky play, secure our way to level 9, find the best way to cap out our board, and simply then overwhelm him through the Thresh scale, the rest of the lobby through the Thresh scaling. As we can see, the rest of the lobby was also going into Thresh, but our dice rolls paid off. I would like to thank you for watching. I hope that you learned something new, and I wish to see you in the next one. Have a good one.